Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another one of those threatened It Came From the Workbench installments, because I realized via my own brain and comments that I'm falling behind on some. It's not the one that it should be. Let's put it that way. But it's the one that I mentioned most recently. We will, Susan. We will cut directly to the chase. He's a quiet boy. He's a painted boy now. I saw an Instagram video of a dude that did a car and basically just used Posca pens. There's a Posca pen around here somewhere. Just paint pens. And he did the whole outside in the paint pens, and then they clear coated it. And I thought, well, we do a Lexan thing here. Let me try the Posca pens under the Lexan and then paint it. I don't know. I was going for kind of a video game, like cell-shaded kind of a look. I don't think it's perfect, but I think I like it. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it suits the Clank theme. I can't get myself to put a single decal on it. I just kind of like it like it is. That is Tamiya bright gunmetal and bright silver. I would do a light coat and then a coat and then a coat. So it is a full blend of the two. So it is bright gunmetal / bright silver all at once. Black, white Posca pens and silver Sharpie. And it's pretty crazy. The opacity of this is so high that until I did the final black backing coat, you could just see these super clearly. It's like it's supposed to be rivets. I think it's rivety. I think it came out pretty well. And then we got a little black panel on the nose and the black on the back. Not a single decal on it. Very shiny. And here is Clank. Now, since he was last driven, he's got that very similar sitting profile to Zobazu. Stink bug, butt real high up in the air. But that worked really well for Zobazu, as we saw. If you saw, we know. We're in a group together where we know. We got a little... So, I just got finished getting him ready for rocks after making sure that the body fit and everything was good. Quiet. And we threw him on the scales. So I'm going to try to keep my hands out of the frame here, and I'm just going to talk down the numbers because I like to do a little Gaussian blur, and then we get to talk about the numbers. Clank, in his Revision 1 tune, which doesn't involve changing any link lengths, but, before I blur it, I think we all agreed that the fronts were too firm. And the fronts are just the dual stage. This is the dual stage that comes in a 2.2 Canyon Trail. And I had recently received on trade, coming in from the great state of Michigan, which is a place that I still don't believe exists. These are Crawler Innovations, yes, with the little comp cut. And when I saw them hanging on the peg, I was like, that's really close in size, but just smaller enough. So the front is, I'm hopeful, because we've still got all the sidewall support, but the outer is really mushy. And I'm thinking it's pretty good. Okay, hands out of the shot. We're going to talk about the numbers. Clank Revision 1, a light tune in his stink bug position. As outfitted, he weighs 7.09 pounds. In a level situation like what you're looking at right now, there are 4.38 pounds on the front axle. That is a 62-38 weight distribution. So he's got a lot of weight up front. We did the usual. We used the center of gravity calculator, where we scale the rig front wheels raised, and we scale the rig rear wheels raised. And we arrived, and here is where Clank has achieved something that no other rig prior has achieved. I use Tamiya paint cans, which are 4 1/8 inches tall. It is what I have always used to raise the front and rear ends. He arrived at a 3.579 inch CGH with the front raised, and then I flipped everything around, scaled the rear, and he arrived at a 3.579 inch CGH with the rear raised. No rig has ever done that. No rig has ever gotten the exact same CG, front raised, rear raised. So, oh man, boy, do I hope that these springs work, because I am enamored by this. Okay, and we're unblurred. The Wheelos do indeed score a kilo, 1,066 grams for the combo. I've got a wrench. What? Oh my God. We were prepared, I swear. So, by the way, 1,066 grams is 33% of the vehicle's weight. So just in wheels, we have 1/3 of the wheel weight guaranteed unsprung. And the reality of it is it's actually significantly more than that, because we're running those monster deluxe weights that we saw on that visitor rig when the Zoku rig came in here. So the front axle, considering these, 350 grams for the pair. Then we have servo on axle and battery on servo on axle. So his unsprung weight is a lot. He's also running brass hubs in the front and regular aluminum hubs in the back, which I think contributed to the very forward friendly weight distribution. Changes made other than that? Not really. He is sitting right now. If we do a little 323 millimeter wheelbase. I don't know how it came out right there, but that's where it came out. I was working off this chassis and just kind of trying to get the tires centered under the body, and the body claims to be a 313 body, but here we are. He is running a wheel track outside to outside of 275 millimeters, which in freedom units, I gotta do the math here, 10 and 13/16. Just a hair over 10 3/4. So he is a wide boy. Switching to these knuckles, he is ever so slightly towed out, but the shocks, but the tires don't seem to. Ooh, how close? Yeah, we're pretty well centered. I believe that's the toe. I think this one is towed out a little, and this one's running a little straight. So I need to make adjustments to the tie rod, which is a turnbuckle, and the drag link, which is a turnbuckle. So there's a little tweaking that needs to be done in the front, but I don't think it's going to impact his performance overall. When I was driving it around the floor to make sure, I had forgotten what radio it was programmed to, so when I was driving it around on the floor, honestly, the low gear, which it is in right now, low gear on the 1200 is so slow, he could get away with an 1800. So that's an option for the future, 1200 Fusion SE. That's an option for the future if something really needs a 1200. This guy's low is 1.5, maybe 2 miles an hour. He's very, I think we can probably, that's full speed. Okay, I'll give it 2.5. But then his high speed, his high gear, on the 1200 balloons the tires out a little. So on an 1800, he'd be 50% faster, which would be kind of unthinkably fast. But man, we all agree that, like, if that's the sound level you're putting out wide open, it's pretty quiet. So I am shades past hopeful. Please follow in the footsteps of those who have trod the rocks before you, and be good, my man, because I think you look good, and I just want you to drive good. I don't want to have to make wholesale changes. I know a lot of people go for big front weight, and I ordinarily don't. I go for the unsprung to sprung weight differential, but we're going to see how he does on 62% front weight, and he should ascend and descend equally well. The only thing I didn't check was cross weight. I can do it real quick. That is 357. 3.57 divided by 7.09. 50%. He's 50% cross. 50.4. And that is 3.58. And that is 3.47. Okay, so descending, he's gonna transfer weight a little bit differently than ascending, but I think our anti-squat should be good. I think that little high sit in the rear, oh man, that front does really feel heavy. There is nothing to do except hit him in a little bit of a protocol, see how he does on the side hill, see how he does everywhere. As I said, those crawler innovations they're pretty mush. But a 2.2 Canyon Trail isn't the thinnest carcass in the world, so I feel like we've got a lot to work with. Clank, joining his partner Ratchet. Not, I mean, you know, in spirit. Let's see what we hath wrought. He's so quiet. I got a little off to one side on that entry there. Oh, all right. Well, okay. I guess that didn't matter. All right, now out here in the bright light of the sun, that where a back window would be is very blank. We gotta put something on there. Let me hit here. Are the rears acting too firm now? I think we're gonna need more. I mean, obviously, we're going to need to wheel time a bit more. Yeah, the fronts feel better, for sure. And that front set down, that was very good. Let's see here. Still getting a little rub in the front. Oh, that I had forgotten. My brain had forgotten that breakover. The mullet breakover. I absolutely get it. And I'm seeing that the fronts aren't smudging over too much. Oh yeah. Honestly, we're gonna have to see some real vertical stuff because I'm thinking about putting those softer inserts in the back too. There's so little weight back there, I think you can get away with it. That was a rough transition. So we are, we're gonna have to see how the rest of this goes. The RC4 GS that's in my hand, that currently has 3 radios, 3 vehicles paired to the 1 radio. I set it down on the little wall here, and I set it on this little rock. It fell off the wall, and it landed directly on the antenna, and there's something rattling around inside of it now. That's not good. It's not wanting to shift very easily, so switch D. Something may have broken off of switch D, something might have gotten in the way. Hopefully we can get the rest of the way through this. I will pull it apart. Oh, go boy. This is an important bit here though. I need to see what the rear foams are doing. It's not collapsing back there. Okay, I've got that rear bound up. Let's come back across. There we go. Maybe. Yeah, okay. It doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me if the rear is too firm. In some moments, I feel like the rear is too firm. And then we make another turn and another hit, and I go, oh, I don't know, the rear seems okay. I don't know. I know I'm just afraid to jiggle the radio. Let's come across here. Yeah, there's plenty of drive coming out of the rear because when he picks that front up, it's still driving. It's not lifting. It's still driving really hard. Yeah, super planted right there. I don't know. It definitely bears more investigation. I'm hoping that it's just part of some plastics from up at the top, like where the antenna screws on. The antenna is super wobbly now. The breakover king. Now see, right? I still can't tell. Is the rear over foamed? I think the springs are right. I don't know. Is he doing anything wrong? I can't tell. Yeah, like he looks super flat now. Should pull here. Yeah. There's some little momentary hesitations, but I think that might come down more than anything to the fact that these canyon trails have about 25 minutes of runtime on them. And they need to get a good bit more to properly feather in. Let's see up through here. Yeah, I'll get to a spot and traction just kind of falls out. All right, that was good. All right, do we stay here? Get that tire up and under. No snappies. Oh no, that's excellent. I don't know. I don't know. I think the problem is I enter into every one of these instances ready and willing to make wholesale changes. And then we get out here and like he's pretty good. He's pretty okay. There's a lot of weight on that front axle, so when it and I'm watching that front tire, that low side tire. He doesn't get squirrely at all. Like when he lifts the front, it still feels planted. You know what I mean? Gotta get the cross back here. See how we do going into yellows. Yeah, I'm not noticing any fall away. There it is. I can't, and I still, I can't tell. Was that the front overly deflected or the rear is too firm and it slid? I mean, it's not that big of an issue to change those rear inserts. And as his weight transfer is so uniform, if the front can handle it, I feel like the rear should be able to handle it as well. Yeah, right there. Right there. But if we lean in, we can kind of, yeah, it puts it right back down. Question is the crawler innovations in the back, will that driver rear just collapse out from under us? I don't think so. I'm going to try slow and low here. Got to give it a little counter steer. I think he can pass the high entry pretty easily. I'm trying the lower entry. Yeah, there it is. Once he got to that breakover point, that's more difficult for other rigs because they don't have the big ground clearance. And when we pulled across that rock that's right under the passenger rear, we might have gotten some plastic on rock contact from others, but not this guy. Suspension looks good, feels good. I do think he could get away with an 1800. Yeah, see, if we send this guy, I think if we send this guy up towards the high entry. I almost caught that. We were a millimeter away from catching that. Side hilling is always going to be tough for something on big 2.2s. Portal 2.2s. There we go. Little acrobatics. I don't know what it is. Mid side hill. Is it the front folding under? I think it's too much steering input on my part. Yeah, he is still kind of willing to lift the high side front right there. Okay, no steer. We're just going to let it throttle through. Want to see what he finds. Okay, now I got to steer a little. If we really creep it, you see right there. Once that front tire dropped, it's through. So I will continue to blame any performance weirdness on the usual suspects. Breakover King. Which are, I go from rig to rig to rig to rig to rig, and they all drive a little bit differently. And the second factor is he's, I don't know, 12 feet away. I don't know. I would say 10 foot is usually about as close as I can get. We got to keep equipment shadow out of the shot, stuff like that. So I too drive, I've had folks in the comments mention they drive like they have to be right on top of it. And I would say that I'm better right on top of it. But because of what format we're working with here, I don't have the opportunity to be right on top of it most of the time. I've got to be back over here. Yeah. The positionability is excellent because it's to Canyon Trail. And I honestly, I don't think this is a 1.9 guy. Here's the deal though. Constantly just knocking around in my head there. These are fairly short for a 2.2, 5.3 inches, not exactly a big tire. Woo, whoa! But even on a 4.75, much less a 4.65, the CG drops over 12 millimeters, over half an inch. I would say almost 14 millimeters the CG will come down. That was effortless. Again, that positionability, I'm aiming for the notch above the notch right there. Tire goes in it, pull over to the side. So there are definitely some inherent benefits to the 2.2. The drawback being CG. We're gonna have a CG just that much higher. The portal rear, I don't know if that tendency to flick the nose has anything to do with the way the rear geometry works. So there may be some tinker with the rear geometry. I think this guy, Link Riser, probably, yeah, as I sit here. Because I'm thinking back through the catalog of other rigs that have kind of exhibited the same thing, that tendency to kind of pop the nose, and that was a Link Riser situation. I think the link separation at the chassis end is good, but I think we can use more link separation at the axle end. I think that would help keep that nose down, and it's fairly inexpensive to find out. Now, sun to our backs. We get to sit really far away. Tire over there and back. It's just not an issue. There are a lot of instances, this being one of them, where aspects like pure forward drive, they don't tell you everything. I think his side hilling could be better, but I think his side hilling at the same time is also very good because, like, look at how high the rear end is. 3.5 is for this build, that's a really good CG. We'd all like to see lower, but there are factors over which we have less control. Oh, I don't know. I am leaning, with each passing moment, I'm leaning more toward do nothing and just wheel time. Just wheel time. Feather the tires in. How far can he pull? That's a strong pull right there. I'm gonna stay in it. Yeah. Really strong. And the side hilling on stuff that isn't just pure side hill, really good. I had to get into a little bit of a dummy position to lose it out there. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're coming back around. We're coming back in a circle. That little, his bump is so soft and so gentle that, do I feel like we could use an 1800 on the bump? 50% more bump? Maybe. But we never really had an instance where he like bumped and fell, because that front, there's so much weight driving that front axle. And again, it's not explicitly the front to rear split. It's that the entirety of the front axle, which I guesstimate has to be, all right, it was 1066 for the full, and the fronts are, so that's 533. The fronts were around 320 grams each, pretty heavy. So that's 640, and then another 700 for the just the knuckle weights, then the servo, then the battery, then the weight of the axle itself. So yeah, he's 62% front weight, but he is also, of that front weight, 80+% of it has to be unsprung. That little lift, I just want to cure that lift, because I think that lift is what's killing us. Not killing us, but not helping us on side hill. Let's get really over. Yeah, full down steer and no problem whatsoever. Because as much as I love the big split on the gearbox, the big split is so big that low is real low, and high is brisk. Yeah, that lug whip. Ha, we're back. That lug noise. Every time I have to catch him, because I'm getting a little too zesty, spicy. The 1200, I'm just pinning it in reverse. What am I caught in here? Maybe, there we go. Get over. Yeah, I think it's just a tire that needs some break-in. I would definitely not want to go to any tire bigger than what's on here. And I think we're probably at about 35% throttle right here. Canyon Trail is surprisingly receptive to really low speed inputs. Yeah, I get, there's a giveaway point where it just, boom, and you're not on the rock anymore. There's just so much gear reduction in this. With a belt drive. Imagine it with a spur and pinion. Oh, yeah. See, right there. I think trying the crawler innovations in the rear is basically a must. Because I think it might help the tire wear in a little faster, if nothing else. Right there. That little tip, you get to that pendulum point and it just swings. But again, we've arrived at something where stay over. Keep that front down. Keep it down. Okay, that's just a wall the rear tires are up on. Keep going. We don't want to get too far over. You might be able to shuttle it back though, guy. I don't know if the driver rear is even on the ground. This is that moment. There. Come on. No, don't pop it. A little slower. Come back. Oh, he's 95%. So I guess we just trend into experimentation, right? Like we try, we're just going to try some things. We're going to try some things. There's nothing I can really try without, well, I mean, I could go to the 1800, but I'm a little resistant in fear of just going straight to ludicrous speed and just engaging plaid. I feel like I could use a little more zoot in low. And if high becomes more ludicrous than it already is, I mean, I guess that's fine. So long as the low speed control isn't overly impacted, like the weight split must be pretty good, because I couldn't even really try to catch that. Got a little axle in right there, pivot around, come on. There we go. Cut back across this way. It's that right there, right there. And I fear that a softer insert is going to exacerbate that. But maybe it won't. Maybe it'll work counter to my intuition. Stay up. Yeah, I can't get through that little gully. Now we can cut back this way, maybe. That's an odd little pivot. Okay, let's just live to fight another day. He does full speed. He does drop some weight onto the front, and no need for explanation. But here it goes anyway. On descents that are overly quick, what I would call an out of control descent, where you're almost falling. Yeah, that weight transfer to the front. A reference from many years past. I know Jay Leno still owns one. There's a vehicle out there called the Shogun, which in the late 80s, early 90s, Ford imported a vehicle along with Kia called a Festiva. It was a tiny little thing, came with a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder engine. Somebody took one and made a version of it that they called the Shogun, which they took some charged version of the 6-cylinder Ford 6 at that time that was in a version of the Taurus called the SHO, and they put that SHO motor into a Festiva, but the only place that there was really room for it was behind the front seats. So when asked what the sensation was of driving the Shogun, a tiny... The Festiva was basically, I mean, even being built by Kia at the time, it was basically a key car. So I want to say that the carbureted version at the time had some 58 horsepower, and the car probably weighed 1,700 pounds, typical of the time. So when they put that SHO motor in it and they asked the guy the sensation of driving it, he said, basically, imagine running full speed downhill with like an 80-pound backpack on. And that's kind of Clank, but in reverse. Imagine running full speed downhill, but with a baby Bjorn with 80 pounds in it. The weight tells you where you're going. Is it to a situation where I would think, oh, I'll take some weight off. We'll contribute the big deluxe to somebody else, or we'll change those hubs out? No. I mean, what portion of our driving is just descending? It's a thing that we have to deal with, much like side hilling. And see all that weight in the nose? He descends tail first pretty majestically. So we are going to move forward doing anti-canyon stuff, which is we are going to move one change at a time. I will see if there is some fairly easily obtainable, I almost said AR-44, but his rear is indeed an AR-45. If there is some sort of easily obtainable link riser, I know there's link riser for Capra axle, but I've I can honestly say I've never looked for a link riser for AR-45. So I'll see if there's something available, and if not, I will see what I can fabricate. But I think I want to try the crawler innovations in the rear and just go with the same foam density all the way around. So, and also, okay, in defense of multiple changes at a time, if not infinite changes at a time, pulling the 1200 out and putting an 1800 in, I don't consider that a change. It's the same circuitry, it's the same everything, it's just higher kV. So the trigger feel should be the same. Nothing should change by putting an 1800 in, other than I'll have a bit more. I have felt a couple times when the baby Bjorn is pulling me that I haven't been able to give it enough beans to catch it, and I'm gonna blame the 1200 for that. Not myself. I'm gonna blame the 1200 for that. It's just that low is so low and high is so unforgivably high. The way I have set him up, I caught that one. But again, I'm glad you point that out here in the Midwest Goodbye. What if I have the 1200 set to like 50% reverse? Maybe that's the problem. Well, let's see. Okay, well, let me frame up here. We'll try to, okay. All right, we'll go right here. Full speed. Full speed. Full speed. Full speed. Okay, it's definitely slower in reverse, but as a guy who has claimed to be able to tell the difference in 4/1000ths in servo speed, I can't tell if that's 50% reverse or 75% reverse. I just know it's not 100. It's probably 75. So maybe we can just try the 1200 on 100% reverse and that'll fix it. Or we can do this. That gear spread, and I had long, ooh, look at the low-lying fog. I had long said that the split between high and low in the Traxxas 2-speed kind of shames everyone else, particularly the 10.3 2-speed from Axial. I've crawled many a rock in high gear and just never noticed that I was in high gear. Not the case with this. He's a zippy boy. So, we will make at least, let's get right here. We will make at least some small effort to localize / minimize our changes. I will look for link riser options for the AR-45. I'll tinker with the 12, I don't need to film all this stuff, right? I will tinker with the 1200 versus the 1800, try 100% reverse, try some little stuff here and there. The inserts will almost certainly go in there because that's not going to affect fore to aft. It's not going to affect anything. It's just that's a small incremental movement. This guy is, the amount of tuning need done, I think, is pretty small because he's pretty forgiving and he's pretty good. But we'll work through it. We'll work through it. Oh, and let me know, do we put stickers on it? Do we put any stickers on it? I don't know. How does everybody think Clank looks? I think Clank looks pretty good. Here's the problem. The closing of this definitely involves more walking. I should have taken the thumbnail before I did all of the smushing, because now I got to go air it out. I got to walk over there. I got to come back. Yeah. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do the thumbnail. I'll see you guys all in the next one. I will say all of the usual things in my head. You know what they all are. So we'll just cap it with, y'all come back now here.